This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What's up, all you roadies? How you doing today? Thanks for joining us. This is the Fantasy Roadshow. We are your hosts. My name is Ryan. This is Kulz. You can find us on the Twitter machine right here at fantasy_trucker. You can find him at Kulz_sports. Follow the show at Fantasy Roadshow. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube as well at youtube.com/sportsethos.
Roadies.
Oh, yeah. We're getting into it today. We are talking NFC South Divisional breakdown. We got two left, Mike. We got the South and the North, ending it on a high note, you know, being a Chicago pod. So, but yeah, man, initial thoughts, NFC South. I mean,
worst division in football.
Yeah, it's definitely in contention for worst division of football. Probably on the bottom there. I know the AFC South isn't very good, but the Jags are better than any team in the NFC South or AFC South. So,
probably the Titans are better than any team in the NFC South. Also,
what was that?
I would probably say the Titans are better than any team in the NFC South as well.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that is an accurate assessment. And yeah,
Maybe,
I mean, yeah,
it would be close. I mean, it would be close. Titans, Saints, Falcons would be close. I mean,
I think if I'm looking at the schedule and I'm looking at the Saints playing the Titans, and I want to pick the Titans to win that game. I just with Vrabel and now with DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry, they just seem like the better team to me. So, but same goes with the Panthers. Yeah, same thing goes with the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Bucks. So, no, you're absolutely right. This is the worst division in football, and we're talking about them today. So,
yay!
Yeah. So we're gonna break it down for you guys. We're gonna tell you all the fantasy implications and some gambling odds and fun stuff about the worst division in football. So, Mike, do you want to kick it off? What's your rundown? Who do you think wins the division? Where do you have them all placing?
Yeah, I think first we should buckle up.
What am I doing? It's going to be a bumpy ride without everybody buckling up. All right. Now that we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, this is an interesting division. I could see really any team. I could see the Falcons and Saints win the division. Panthers, maybe they'd have to play like perfect football, but for them, but I could see the Falcons, Saints, or Panthers winning the division. We'll be talking about the NFC North next, after this. And I think that literally any of those teams could win the division. Here, I think the Bucks are probably the only team that just not good. I'm not going to trust Baker Mayfield, even if he lit the field on fire his first preseason game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have the Falcons at 10-7 winning the division. I have the Saints at 8-9, Panthers at 7-10, and the Bucks at 4-13.
Okay.
And honestly, like, I might be a little bit too low on the Saints. I think it's really going to come down to how well that defense is this year. They always play really tough in the Superdome. So, I think this. I don't know. I could talk myself into the Saints winning this division and being one of the best teams in the NFC. I just need to see that defense take a huge step forward. Kind of like how I was saying the Panthers, in order for them to win the division, everything would have to go right for them. I could see a path where the Saints make the NFC Championship game. They would just need everything to go right for them and play. The defense needs to play to the highest level. Derek Carr needs to be, elite game manager, come in and really know how to use those weapons to the best of their ability. So because of the first year, Derek Carr, and so much question marks on the both sides of the ball. I have them going 8-9, and I have the Falcons winning the division. That being said, for the Falcons to win the division, Ritter needs to be good enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would confidently say that that's the case. So what do you have? What do you have as your record here?
So I have it very similar, but I have the Saints winning the division. I think they're going to be the best team in this division. I have them at 10-7. And I have the Panthers and the Falcons both at 8-9, but I think the Panthers end up beating the Falcons more within the division, so they'll have the number 2 spot. Falcons at number 3, and then the Bucks, I have them winning 3 games. I don't think they're very good, and this division last year, the Bucks won the division at 8-9. Everybody else, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons, all won 7 games. But this division, almost basically every team has a different outlook. I mean, the Bucks lose Tom Brady, now they got Baker, who looks somewhat decent. Panthers got the rookie quarterback Bryce. The Saints grab Derek Carr, and then the Falcons are starting with Desmond Ritter. So this division looks a whole lot different, but that's kind of where I have them at. I think the Saints are the best team in the league, or best team in this division, and but it'll be a close race. I only have them winning 2 more games than the Panthers and the Falcons. So,
yeah. So here's what the win totals are for all these teams.
Oh yeah, let me know. Drop it on me.
And to be honest, I could see you being exactly right with, the 10-7 Saints, 8-9, 8-9. It's just going to be a bad division, and they're going to beat up on each other. I think the best team in the division will go 4-2. And you know what I mean? No one's going to just sit here and beat up. They're going to be beating each other up all year, and that's why you're going to see those records being so close to 500. One of the teams is going to have to make the playoffs, and then, what do they do once they're there? That's why I said Saints, who knows? They could end up going 10-7 and somehow getting a home game in the playoffs and the Superdome being rowdy, and then they win a playoff game. But anyways, Falcons are at 8.5 wins. Saints are at 9.5 wins. Panthers 7.5 wins, and Bucks 6.5 wins.
Okay.
Vegas sees this division as Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Bucks, all separated by a game. So, kind of what we think. I'm just going to go ahead and say the Falcons and that young core is nasty, and Bijan is, makes it a whole different team on offense. They had, I think, Mariota as their quarterback at one point when they were maybe first place in the division.
Yeah, definitely in contention for sure.
Or something like that, ridiculous. So it's going to be an ugly conference, ugly division, and we'll see what happens.
I'm sliding with the Saints. I think Derek Carr's experience. He's got more experience than all 3 of them combined at this point, pretty much. So, I think that's going to bode well for them. And the Saints defense, they have the best defense in the division. It is what it is. But the Falcons have a really good offensive line. They have the new best running back in the league, Bijan Robinson. So yeah, they're going to be dangerous, man. The Falcons could easily do it, and Desmond Ritter's got all the pieces to succeed. So we'll see what happens. But let's start with the Saints. Break them down.
Let's do it.
Derek Carr, probably not a quarterback you're going to be drafting. Unless you're in a 2-quarterback league and he's your quarterback 3, something like that. But I think he's a pretty safe option if that's the case. You could rely on a spot start, but his upside isn't much. I don't think he's going to win you any weeks, but I don't think he's going to lose you any weeks either.
I mean, he's definitely a streamable quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at.
So, we've seen him in the past when he's crushing it on offense, and he's put up some very good games in the past.
Yeah.
I know last season was a little bit different, but, Olave's – let's look here. Olave is – his line on Vegas is 1050 and a half. So, Vegas sees him as a 1,000-yard receiver. Any quarterback that supports a 1,000-yard wide receiver is going to have some, big games. Vegas has him as a 3,700 and a half passing yard quarterback, 23 and a half passing touchdowns. So I don't know. I mean, he could be a streamable backup type quarterback option. If the Saints are good and win their division, then I think that Derek Carr could be a viable starter at times. So, I'm not necessarily saying he's not a factor in fantasy football. I think that, on your bye week, he's someone that you can definitely look to. He could almost always be like this year's Jared Goff too.
Just a solid start.
He has a ceiling that is there. Or if you have Goff and you trust him that he's going to just have awesome games at home again, then Derek Carr would be a perfect person to kind of scoop up. And when Goff goes on the road, trust that you can start him to get you points. So,
Derek Carr is not a sexy name, but just know he slings the ball over 4,000 yards in 4 of his last 5 seasons. He airs it out. So he's going to get Olave the ball. He's going to try to get Michael Thomas back involved and Rashid Shaheed. But the Saints have a pretty easy schedule. On the metric I'm looking at, they have the easiest schedule as a team. That's also in part because this is a terrible division and not great defenses. So, but Chris Olave is being drafted as I'm not sure the updated ADP, but being drafted in the back end of the second, early third. Mike, you comfortable taking Olave there? Or are you looking for other players in that range?
Yeah, I like Olave. I think he's a great receiver. I would be totally fine rostering Olave. I think that he's kind of at the end of a tier, and I would put him above T. Higgins for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I probably have Devontae. I have Devonta Smith right before Olave, so he's my wide receiver 14. I'm totally fine going with him.
Yeah.
If he falls to me, I'm okay drafting him. It's just in that specific pocket, end of the second, early third. I've been going Josh Allen a lot because I think he's going to be the number 1 overall fantasy player this year. So I've been scooping him up if I can in the third in recent drafts. But, I'm totally fine with going Olave. If Allen's gone, it all depends on how the board shakes out, but he's my wide receiver 14. His ADP is probably right around that. What's his ADP?
I have it previously at wide receiver. Let's see.
Yeah, 13.8. So
yeah, there you go.
He's right on par with where his ADP is. So I'm not necessarily, that's where I have him. Updated. This says he's at 12, wide receiver 12.
So he's moved up
Fantasy Pros. So, let's see. Yeah, 12.7 is his current, according to Fantasy Pros. So, yeah, right on par.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
The question mark to me in that wide receiver room is Michael Thomas. I don't know how I feel about him. I'm probably just staying away, but I don't know. Last year when he was healthy, he looked like a very viable option. This sure-handed guy to score touchdowns in the red zone or get you your first downs. He's always had that slant be one of his go-tos, and they certainly did it when he was healthy last year for that short period. So if he stays healthy, it can be great. That's a big if. I'm probably just staying away, but that's just how I feel about. He's been away from being a producing fantasy player for too long for my liking.
How long has it been? What was it, like 2018? Something like that. Let's double check, because it has been a long time, but it also feels a lot longer than it probably is.
He was the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy in 2019, and then played 7 games in 2020, played none in 21, 3 in 2022. So,
yeah.
He had 3 games and 3 touchdowns, 16 receptions, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 3 games last year. So, that's a touchdown a game is, turns out that's a pretty good number to have. So,
yeah. And I feel like he's being drafted late enough to where, you could take a chance on him. It's Michael Thomas. Like, he's a talented receiver. No, he hasn't done it in a long time, but there's still an opportunity there. And if it ends up happening where he is back involved in the offense like he somewhat used to be, you're going to get value where you're drafting him. You know what I mean? He's being drafted right around wide receiver 50,
Yeah, the only time you would ever see me draft him would be he's wide receiver 42.
Oh, okay.
Overall ADP is 107.7. I just see other names that I like Treylon Burks is wide receiver 41. I would go Treylon Burks before I would go Michael Thomas, Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore. Those are names that I'm going before. Elijah Moore, I would go 15 out of 15.
Yeah,
100 times before I go.
I'm right there with you. I agree. What about Rashid Shaheed? Are you interested in Rashid Shaheed this year at all?
In a best ball format, yeah, because he's a big time play. He's a home run hitting type player. Is he going to be good? I don't know. He's an undrafted wide receiver out of Weber State at the end of the day, but he had 28 receptions, 488 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So,
showed some flashes.
Yeah. So the big play is there. So very late flyer in a best ball format, but I wouldn't draft him in redraft by any means. I own him in Dynasty as a stash and see if he turns into anything, but will he? Probably not. I just don't think Derek Carr's a good enough quarterback to make someone who isn't outstanding relevant.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mac Hollins, I guess, was for a bit last year, but I don't think Rashid Shaheed is worth rostering in redraft. Best ball, definitely think he's a guy you can take a shot on late. And anyways.
All right. Well, how about Mike? Jimmy Graham is back in the NFL. He is back with the Saints. They also have Juwan Johnson and still have Taysom Hill. I'm not drafting any one of those tight ends personally, but I find it interesting that Jimmy Graham's back, man.
Yeah. Not relevant in fantasy. Juwan Johnson catches touchdowns. Congratulations, Jimmy Graham, on being back in the NFL. I think that's awesome.
I remember when I saw that come through, I'm like, dude, he's going to retire. He's just retiring as a Saint. It's one of those one-day contracts, but not the case. Case.
Running back room here, again, is, I think, the most noteworthy part of this team. Kamara, 3 games. I think that's better than what I was expecting. I was expecting, 4 to 6. So to hear 3 is definitely awesome. He looked great running the ball. He looked like Alvin Kamara running the ball in this first week of preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Kendre Miller dinged up his knee again. They signed Darrell Williams. Jamal Williams is going to be their workhorse the first 3 games this season. So honestly, I think there's value in Jamal and Alvin Kamara. I don't really know if Alvin Kamara is shot up or just kind of stayed put at his ADP, but if there wasn't a very dramatic change there, then I'm in on buying Kamara, and then also in on drafting Jamal Murray if you've taken someone like Breece Hall and you can come in and
Jamal Williams. Jamal Murray.
Yeah. Jamal Murray. Yes, Jamal Murray. I'm in on Jamal Murray if you have someone like Javonte Williams, Breece Hall. Did I say Murray again?
Yeah, you did. I thought you were just going to roll with it. He's like Jamal Murray.
I'm in on Jamal Williams if you to use him as a hedge if you have someone like Javonte Williams, someone like Breece Hall, who's going to start slower this year, and you can just plug in Jamal Williams, get 3 great games out of him, and then he kind of turned into a hopeful touchdown hog like he was last year. So Alvin
Kamara originally before the news broke, he was being drafted right around running RB 28, and now he's up at 22, 21 range, which I still think is pretty cheap for Kamara. If he's only gone 3 games, he's gonna come back and be the guy. But they got Jamal for a reason, man. I mean, he fits kind of like that Saints RB2 role to a T, that old Mark Ingram role. So I could see Jamal having a very similar year as last year with a ton of rushing touchdowns and them utilizing him in the red zone. He's that type of guy. But, yeah, through the first 3 weeks, he's going to be, probably a top 20, top 15 guy on a weekly basis based on his usage and everything. So, yeah, I mean, and then Kendrick Miller, man, I was really excited about him. Obviously not good to hear about this his knee issues, but I think he ends up bouncing back and still finishes the year pretty strong and shows some flashes throughout the year. I like him in Dynasty. But, I'm willing to draft Kamara and Jamal in redraft.
Yeah, I'm not as sold on Kendra. I think they drafted him thinking that 6 games thinking that 3 games was not really in the cards. When is he going to play this year? I just don't. If he's already having issues with his knee and you sign Jamal Williams and you have Alvin Kamara healthy and looking good, I don't see him really getting on the field. I just don't know when they would bring, you're just going to bring him in because you drafted him in the 2nd round. I don't see the Saints running out 3 running backs. I just there's no need to if you have 2 guys that are not showing their age, which they're really not that old. They're in the prime of their running back careers. Mm-hmm. Especially Kamara, you're going to use him as much as possible until he runs out of gas. He's just such a weapon and such a good running back. I don't know that you want him off the field longer than for a Jamal Williams drive or 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, Kamara's got 3 years left on his contract, so he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about Kendra Miller. Anyways, that's just.
Yeah, I think with the few carries that he gets this year, he'll show something that the team still wants him around. So that's all I'm saying.
So what are they going to do? Give him a 5 carries?
Well, he's not going to go the entire year without a carry.
But I don't understand when he's going to get in the game is my point. Unless
they'll find times to work him in.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm talking 30, 40, maybe 30 carries total on the season, very sporadically.
Yeah, I guess. So let's talk Falcons. Bijan Robinson, and I can't talk highly. I can't speak higher about Bijan as I have all season. he's the best running back in the NFL, and he hasn't played it down. 2 years ago, behind this Falcons line, Arthur Smith offense, Cordell Patterson had 4.8 yards per carry. Last year, Tyler Algier had 4.9 yards per carry. Then you bring in a talent like Bijan, he's just going to be all over the place. He's an incredible pass catcher. He's going to be just everywhere in that offense. So between him, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, Desmond Ridder has everything you could ever ask for. It's hard for me to see him not succeed with those tools, and he can run, so he doesn't really need to you just need to be able to throw the ball and make good decisions. Like, get the ball in the hands of those guys and let them do everything else, and you're going to be okay. So I just don't think Ridder needs to do that much, and I think he does have the talent to where this can all work. I just want to see it happen. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, yeah, like you said, that he doesn't have to do much for this team to succeed. They love to run the ball. They were second in rushing percentage as a team, and they're probably going to repeat that again this year. Bijan being the number one prospect, he's going to be the workhorse, but I mean, sure, you're going to see Algier on the field. You're going to see Cordero on the field. Like, they're going to be running the ball a lot. And when you run the ball a lot, you control the tempo of the game. So, I could see them winning games with Desmond Ridder throwing like 20 passes, even, sometimes less than that. So, kind of what we saw from the Bears last year. They just never threw the ball. They just constantly ran the ball, but Falcons be better at it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. I just feel like you can get. I'm trying to bring up his game log from last year. I just feel like you can get that passing game involved. So last year he threw 30, 26, 33, and 26. So yeah, like right around that 30 range makes sense. I just think like the run they're going to establish the run. They're going to open up the offense. And then you have such good pass catchers that, like Bijan being one of them, that you don't have to have this, West Coast style crazy throwing offense. You just need to be able to open it up with the run and then get the ball in Pitts, get the ball in London's hands, because they are awesome as well. I mean, two of the top prospects at their position. So Ritter's just got to be good enough to give him the ball. And honestly, he's the kind of guy that if he does take a step in the right direction, it could be a pretty massive step just because of what he has around him. I don't think Cordero is going to run the ball at all, honestly. I think they're going to, from what I've heard, they're going to move him back out to, maybe slot and get creative, maybe do some end arounds and stuff like that. But I think his time in the backfield is probably over. It's just like someone like Bijan that you draft number 7 overall, he's going to be on the field as much as possible. I think I could see Ridder being like an interesting dynasty quarterback to own. Even maybe we did last year with Trevor Lawrence, where we drafted Trevor Lawrence in the last round and then just cut him, and we're planning on picking him back up to have him as a keeper in a keeper league. I could see that being something with Ridder, where you get him in the last round, you have to drop someone to add a kicker or a defense, so you just kind of do that with Ridder, because he could just take a huge step. I mean, Kenny Pickett's kind of in that same boat, but I don't know. What do you think about Algier? What is his fantasy relevancy?
With Algier, I just think he's kind of like the handcuff to Bijan with how well he performed last year, being 1,000-yard rusher. Like you mentioned, 4.9 a carry. I don't think he'll have much standalone value. He'll probably still see anywhere from 5 to 10 carries a game. I don't think he'll get much more than 10, but it's a possibility. They're going to be running the ball a lot. And I don't know. If I have Bijan, I'll be looking to grab Algier later on in drafts. But other than that, I probably won't touch him.
Yeah, he's going to be involved in, like, they're going to get creative, I imagine, having Algier back there at running back, maybe both of them back there. Bring Bijan out in the slot. I don't know. I think they're going to try to involve him as much as they can because he was so successful last year. But we'll see what happens there. Drake London, that's probably the only one I'm looking at in the wide receiver room. I don't know what your thoughts are there. I mean, he's wide receiver 24. I do like drafting him if he falls to me. I'm not trying to stretch for him by any means, but he's talented enough. Him and Pitts both, like, if they fall to me, I'm not against taking them based on where they're currently. Pitts is tight end 6, 63.7 ADP. If he slips a little bit, I typically like going very high at quarterback or back, as I've talked about, letting go all the way to Kincaid. But if Pitts falls, I think he's talented enough, and I do think the Falcons win the division. So he's going to have to play well. London's going to have to play well in order to do so. But those are the only two I look at with fantasy relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree with you. I'm not really considering Mac Hollins, even though, he seemed to play pretty well, not fantasy wise, but just a real NFL wide receiver. So, but yeah, Drake London in that range, like he's not the most anticipating pick for me. Like when I see him on the board, I tend to look elsewhere. And Kyle Pitts, I'm kind of fading him, but he's just, it's hard to trust him, man. It's not like Desmond Ridder throws a lot of touchdown passes. He played 4 games last year at the end of the season, threw a touchdown pass in the last game out of those 4, went 3 games without throwing a touchdown pass, and Pitts 3 total touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. So he was able to get over 1,000 yards. That's interesting. And Drake London will receive a large target share on this team. So he's probably the one I'm more interested in out of the 2, but it's just risky altogether with the uncertainty of Ridder.
He had 2 touchdown passes in the last game. Don't short him.
Well, yeah, but he also went three games playing every snap without throwing a touchdown pass.
You only gave him 1. He doubled that amount.
Well, I said it took him 4 games to throw a touchdown pass. That's all I said. I didn't say he threw a touchdown pass. I just said it took him that long to throw a touchdown.
He had 19 for 30, 224, and 2 touchdowns. 2 rushes, 9 yards. 22.31 fantasy points that game. We'll see what happens.
It's just risky. That's all.
What's risky?
It's risky drafting pass catchers from the Falcons with the uncertainty of Ridder. That's all. In that range.
Yeah. Yeah, like I just think that all of that is baked into Pitts' ADP now. So where he was getting drafted based on hype in previous years, now I think it's just straight potential. And it's at a pretty good price. So he's got top 3, top 2 potential. That's his ceiling. So, I mean, I'm okay with you taking a shot saying there's no way he falls on his face for another year. They got more weapons. They're going to be a better offense. So I definitely think his ceiling is a lot higher than tight end 6. But that's really all I got for the Falcons. I'm really hopeful that Ridder looks good. I'm really hopeful that the entire offense, I mean, give me all the Bijan I can get. If there is a 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver league with a flex, I'm taking him at the 103 spot. almost every single time. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Panthers is an interesting team because I have them at 7 and 10. You had them at 8 and 9. And it's not because of their offense. So fantasy wise, like I like Bryce Young. I do think there's value in the wide receiver room. And I'm personally not a Miles Sanders guy, but if you do like his talent, then you should be all over him because his ADP is pretty good and his opportunity is going to be massive. So if you think he's got talent, then you should be drafting him in every single league. I just don't, but they're going to be feeding him the ball all year. So that's kind of my high level of the Panthers. What do you think?
I think the Panthers are going to be better than people think, or better than Vegas expects them to be. Bryce Young looks like the smartest quarterback, rookie quarterback ever. I mean, did you hear that report that he's already teaching protection schemes to the offensive line, like in training camp? Like that's just kind of that's unheard of.
Next level. You think that they're going to be better by a half of a game than Vegas? I just want to be clear about that.
It's still better, but yeah, sure. Yeah, I think they're going to be better than Vegas thinks, and I think they're going to be better than other people think as well. Even if it's just by a half a game, still better. But yeah, Bryce Young, I'm willing to take a chance on him in drafts. And, he's being drafted late, probably in the 20s. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, I think it's like 24, 25. Let's see. Bryce Young, QB 19 on Fantasy Pros.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm willing to take a chance on him in 2 quarterback leagues, even as a backup quarterback in a 1 quarterback league, even though I don't usually draft 2 quarterbacks in that setting. But yeah, I think Bryce Young's going to be good, man. And I'm really high on Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders is going to be a workhorse there. They gave him a lot of money, and they have a decent offensive line there. And I think with the amount of passing attack he's going to get, and with the sheer volume of carries he's going to get, I think he's going to be a really, really good running back. But the wide receivers, it's hard to tell. I mean, DJ Chark looks like the best one, but Adam Thielen's locked into the slot. And then you got Jonathan Mingo as a rookie. Who knows? Someone's going to emerge and be a weekly starter there. But if I had to bet on someone, it would be DJ Chark. But
yeah, so Vegas has DJ Chark at 48.5 catches, 675.5 receiving yards. And then Thielen's at 55.5 catches with 550.5 receiving yards with 4.5 touchdowns. So, that's saying 7 more catches Thielen's way, 175 more yards Chark's way. There's not a touchdown total for Chark. So, but anyways, that's pretty close to being, depending on Chark's touchdown total, that they have them from a fantasy points scored standpoint being pretty close. Whereas Thielen is the 54th drafted wide receiver and Chark's the 65th. So more value in Chark probably, according to Vegas, for whatever that's worth. Best ball, I'll take both of them on my best ball team just because of how far back in the draft you can get them, and one of them they're either going to be pretty identical or one of them's going to kind of swallow up the other and have a huge year, and then whatever Jonathan Mingo gets, he gets. But
yeah, they're both very cheap.
Bryce Young's the best rookie quarterback. He's the smartest. He's going to be good. There's going to be games when you're like, damn, this guy is one of the future faces of the league. So how quickly does that happen? I don't know. That's going to depend their success this year, and whether they can win the division or not. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the Panthers. He's outstanding. There's going to be value in the wide receiver room. And then Sanders will get all the opportunity that you can ask for. I'm just not a big Sanders guy, but Hurst, maybe there's
Could be some value there.
Yeah, like good best ball guy. I'm not gonna start him every week in a redraft league, but yeah, that's what I got for you on the Panthers.
Yep, that's about sums it up. How about the Buccaneers? Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield.
The Buccaneers, I like Rashad White. I am interested if Mike Evans has another 1,000-yard season. What is Godwin going to do? Those are my questions. I don't know. Give me what do you think here? I mean,
I don't want to draft Godwin or Evans. Kind of where they're being drafted, I'm looking elsewhere. I just don't believe in Baker, although he's kind of proven people wrong in preseason so far. He's looked pretty good. But yeah, Rashad White, man, what's there not to like? He's a pass catching running back who's going to have the backfield to himself.
80 balls.
Yeah, could be catching 80 plus receptions this year.
That's my bold prediction, 80 balls.
I could see that happening. Then Godwin and Evans, man. Godwin's going to be the possessional guy, and Evans will probably have more touchdowns and more yards, but I don't know, man. Like I said, I look elsewhere in that range where they're being drafted.
Are these the best wide receivers? Is this the best wide receiver room the Lakers ever had?
Yes, it is. I think Mike Evans. Well, I mean, he was thrown to Odell Beckham at the time. He had Jarvis Landry. Yeah. I think I would say Chris Godwin is better than Jarvis, but depending on, I don't know. I think Odell Beckham probably more talented receiver than Mike Evans, although Mike Evans has been doing it longer on a consistent basis.
Yeah, he's insane. He's an absolute freak. Mike Evans.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, so was Odell Beckham at that time too. This was he went from the Giants to the Browns at the time, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Fuck Odell Beckham. Evans just puts his head down, brings his lunch pail to work, and gets 1,000-yard seasons like it's his fucking day job, and you don't hear a word from him. Odell just bitches and causes a scene and fucking thinks he's the hottest shit on earth. 2014 till 2022, Evans has had 1,000 yards every season. 2021, he's had 14 touchdowns. 2020, 13 touchdowns. 2016, 12 touchdowns. His rookie year, he had 12 touchdowns. He's just a stud, man. He's, in my mind, him and Von Miller are the best things to come out of A&M. Maybe the only things you'll hear me say positive to come out of A&M. He's an absolute stud. That's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on, is does he have another 1,000-yard receiving season? And quite honestly, like, I think the Bucs want it for him, and I think he wants it bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things that, like, once you've done it for 9 straight years, that's on your radar as, like, let's go for 10. So I don't know. Very interesting. I just don't know what to think about this team. I've been saying that they're going to be so bad for the extent of this year talking football, but then I go out and see Baker do what he did this season, this weekend, and look somewhat competent. And then you go out and see Mike Evans, or you just look at Mike Evans and you're like, he's still so good. I mean, if Baker can get the ball anywhere near him, that's going to be success. I like Rashad White, as we talked about earlier. Godwin's wide receiver 26. He's in that pocket with Lockett, Christian Watson, Ayuk. I don't know. They're kind of breaking They're a team that I'm just kind of staying away from, besides Rashad White, probably because I just don't know. I have a bad feeling about their season, but also like such talented receivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing?
I'm looking at my notes on the Bucks. I'm just looking at their defense, and they're probably going to be playing from behind constantly. They're going to be slinging the
Defense
ball a
is
lot.
that bad?
It's not that bad, but it's in the bottom half, definitely outside the top 20. That's PFF ranked him. But
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what to think about the Bucks. Like,
I have them winning
I
3
don't have
games,
much to
but
say.
they're gonna win more than 3 games.
They have to, right?
Yes.
As we're talking through this, like,
Yes.
I have them at 4-13.
They're
but,
probably
like,
going to have 5 or 6 wins. 6 most likely, but
Vegas has it that win total at 6.5, and I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'm comfortable with saying 4-13, but like when you talk about that offense, where is the hole besides Baker Mayfield? Like their lines, what's their line projection?
their offensive line is 14th.
Okay, so a
decent
decent
middle
line.
tier. Yeah.
Competent enough line. I just think Baker sucks when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really, he hasn't shown much for people to really latch onto, So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right. Well, we powered through the NFC South, worst
It was
division,
brutal.
worst division in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear anyone have a very strong stance on the NFC South because I think it's kind of hard to. I don't know that there's a lot of guys I'm targeting in this division. I don't really want to pay much attention to this division unless I am in the Superdome hoodatting and at a Saints game, which I think I'm going to for actually the Bears Saints, but that's going to be the most I pay attention to them outside of Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, I guess that about does it for our NFC South breakdown. Tune in. We got the NFC North next and a ton of other stuff.
I do want to actually pull back on what I just said. That's not fair to say.
Okay.
I like Bryce Young. You're not going to see me watching like Panthers games in full, but there's some exciting things happening in the South. It's just not this year in my mind. Falcons, very exciting and young. Bryce Young is going to be awesome. So give it a couple of years and this division will be a lot more exciting. I just felt bad saying there's nothing to look forward to watching with them this year.
Just completely shit on the whole division.
Yeah, that was a little harsh, but
yeah.
Bijan, Bryce Young, let's go.
Welcome.